Chapter 24. Joash was 7 years old when he became king of Judah, and he reigned in Jerusalem for 40 years. His mother's name was Zibiah, and she was from Beersheba. As long as the priest Jehoiada lived, Jehoiada did what was right in the sight of the Lord. Jehoiada chose 2 wives for him, and they bore him sons and daughters. Sometime later, Jehoias decided to restore the temple of the Lord. He summoned the priests and Levites and said to them, "Go to all the towns of Judah and collect the money due each year from all Israel to repair the temple of your God. Do this quickly." But the Levites did not act promptly. So the king summoned Jehoiada the high priest and asked why Haven. You required the Levites to bring in from Judah and Jerusalem the tax that Moses, the servant of the Lord, imposed on Israel for the upkeep of the tent of the covenant? For the wicked queen Athaliah and her sons had desecrated the temple of God and used the sacred objects in the worship of Baal. At the king's command, a chest was made and placed outside at the gate of the temple of the Lord. Then a proclamation was sent throughout Judah and Jerusalem, telling the people to bring to the Lord the tax that Moses, the servant of God, had required of Israel in the wilderness. All the officials and all the people rejoiced and brought their contributions, filling the chest. Whenever the Levites brought the chest to the royal officials and they saw that it was full of money, the king's secretary and the representative of the high priest would empty it and take it back to its place. They did this regularly and collected a great amount of money. The king and Jehoiada gave the money to those in charge of the temple work, and they hired masons, carpenters, and metal workers in iron and bronze to restore the temple of the Lord. The workers labored diligently, and the repairs were completed. The temple was restored to its original design and made even stronger than before. When they finished, they brought the remaining money to the king and to Jehoiada, who used it to make articles for the temple of the Lord objects, for the service and burnt offerings, as well as bowls and other gold and silver utensils. As long as Jehoiada lived, burnt offerings were presented continually in the temple of the Lord. Jehoiada lived to a very old age and died. He was buried with the kings in the city of David because of the good he had done for Israel, for God, and for the temple. After Jehoiada's death, the leaders of Judah came and bowed down before the king, and he listened to them. They abandoned the temple of the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and began to worship Asherah poles and idols. Because of their guilt, God's anger came upon Judah and Jerusalem. Yet the Lord sent prophets to bring them back to him, but they would not listen. Then the Spirit of God came upon Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada the priest. Standing before the people, he said, "This is what God says. Why do you disobey the Lord's commands and bring disaster on yourselves? Because you have forsaken the Lord, he has also forsaken you." But they plotted against Zechariah, and by the king's command they stoned him to death in the courtyard of the temple. King Joash paid no attention to the kindness that Zechariah's father Jehoiada had shown him, but killed his son. As he was dying, Zechariah said, "May the Lord see this and call you to account." At the turn of the year, the army of Aram Syria marched against Joash. They invaded Judah and Jerusalem, killed the leaders of the people, and sent all the plunder to their king in Damascus. Although the Aramean army was small, the Lord delivered Judah's much larger army into their hands because they had forsaken him, the God of their ancestors. So judgment was executed on Joash. When the Arameans withdrew, they left Joash severely wounded. His own officials conspired against him for murdering the son of Jehoiada the priest, and they killed him in his bed. Joash was buried in the city of David, but not in the royal tombs. Those who conspired against him were Zabad, son of Shimith, a woman from Ammon, and Jehozabad, son of Shimrith, a woman from Moab, the record of his sons. The many prophecies spoken against him, and the account of the temple's restoration are written in the commentary on the Book of the Kings. His son Amaziah succeeded him as king. Chapter 25. Amaziah was 25 years old when he became king of Judah, and he reigned in Jerusalem for 29 years. His mother's name was Jehoadan, and she was from Jerusalem. Amaziah did what was right in the sight of the Lord, but not wholeheartedly. As soon as his rule was established, he executed the officials who had assassinated his father, the king. However, he did not kill their children. He obeyed what is written in the law of Moses, where the Lord commanded, "Parents shall not be put to death for their children's sins, nor children for their parents' sins." Each is to die for his own sin. Amaziah assembled the men of Judah and Benjamin, 20 years old and older, and organized them according to their families, placing them under commanders of thousands and of hundreds. He found that he had 300,000 select men capable of going to war, equipped with spears and shields. In addition, he hired 100,000 brave warriors from Israel for about 3,400 kilograms of silver. But a man of God came to him and said, "O king, do not let the army of Israel go with you, for the Lord is not with Israel, not with any of the people of Ephraim. If you go and fight courageously, God will still cause you to fall before the enemy. For God has the power to help or to overthrow." Amaziah asked, "But what about the silver I paid to hire these Israelite troops?" The man of God replied, "The Lord is able to give you much more than that." So Amaziah dismissed the troops from Israel. They went home furious with Judah. Amaziah then took courage and led his army to the Valley of Salt, where he killed 10,000 Edomites. Another 10,000 were captured alive, taken to the top of a cliff, and thrown down from there. They were dashed to pieces. Meanwhile, the Israelite soldiers whom Amaziah had dismissed raided towns in Judah from Samaria to Beth-horon. They killed 3,000 people and carried off much plunder. When Amaziah returned from defeating the Edomites, he brought back their idols and set them up as his own gods. He bowed down before them and burned incense to them. The Lord's anger burned against Amaziah, and he sent a prophet who said, "Why do you seek the gods of a people who could not even save their own people from your hand?" But while he was still speaking, the king interrupted, "Since when have I made you my counselor? Be quiet, or I'll have you killed." So the prophet stopped, but before leaving, he said, "I know that God has determined to destroy you, because you have done this and have not listened to my advice." After consulting his counselors, King Amaziah sent a challenge to Jehoshaphat, king of Israel, son of Jehoahaz, and grandson of Jehu, saying, "Come, let us meet face to face." But King Jehoshaphat of Israel replied with this story: "A thistle in Lebanon sent a message to a cedar in Lebanon, 'Give your daughter to my son in marriage.' But a wild animal passing by trampled the thistle. You say to yourself that you have defeated Edom, and now you are proud. But stay at home. Why provoke disaster that will bring you down, and Judah with you?" Amaziah, however, refused to listen, for God had determined to deliver them into the hands of their enemies because they had sought the gods of Edom. So Jehoshaphat, king of Israel, marched out, and he and Amaziah faced each other in battle at Beth-shemesh in Judah. Judah was defeated by Israel, and everyone fled to their homes. Jehoshaphat captured Amaziah at Beth-shemesh and brought him to Jerusalem. He broke down the wall of Jerusalem from the Ephraim gate to the corner gate, a section about 200 meters long. He took all the gold and silver and all the articles found in the temple of God that had been under the care of Obed-Edom, as well as the treasures of the royal palace. He also took hostages and returned to Samaria. Amaziah, king of Judah, lived 15 years after the death of Jehoash, king of Israel, son of Jehoahaz. The rest of the events of Amaziah's reign, from beginning to end, are recorded in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. After Amaziah turned away from the Lord, a conspiracy was formed against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent men after him to Lachish and killed him there. His body was brought back on horseback and buried with his ancestors in the city of David.